All right, welcome to another Eric Tries Too Hard draft. So I did four of these for different positions, or three of these for different positions, and one demonstrating how late you can wait to get a tight end and quarterback. And this just goes to show how much people love fantasy football. Put them on YouTube and just kind of forgot about them. I didn't forget about them, but like I didn't check in with them. And then all of a sudden, without any advertising or tagging or really anything, a couple of them got over 1,000 views. So thanks for watching them. That's really cool. Um, you guys don't know me that well, but I still, most people will see like the silver lining, the one good thing in like a dark storm or whatever. I'm the opposite. I see that and I think I've been doing music and podcasting for a very long time, and I've never had something catch on without painstaking effort. Thank you for watching and breaking my the artist inside of me's heart. No, I'm just kidding. So it's awesome that people are just craving fantasy football drafts to the point where you'd watch a no name like me just do that, and that's awesome. So hopefully I can. It's literally scores of people have asked me to do more, and by that I mean one dude did. So here I am doing it. It goes to show how crappy of a host I am that I forgot that person's YouTube name. But whoever you are, thank you for suggesting it. So I'm doing this one so I can kind of update it. The last ones I did were before the preseason. So just as a quick update on what's been going on since then. Since the drafts that I did, Arian Foster has been injured, and there's a lot of debate about when you should take him. But we still don't know if he's coming back a few games in or if he's going to be out like 8 to 10 games. So we're going to assume he's going to be out 8 to 10 games, because that seems to be what the ADP is representing. Also, Amir Abdullah has. I mean, I've always taken him pretty highly. But he did really well in the first preseason game, and so his ADP should be skyrocketing, or no, whatever, should be at least shooting up. It hasn't exactly reflected that on ESPN drafts, so I've still just kind of like hung back and taken him in the later rounds. But I might grab him earlier, pull a Jamie Eisenberg, and grab him in the fourth, like 2 months ago, grab him in the fourth. Tom Brady is still, as we know it, suspended for the first 4 games, so we're treating it as if he is still suspended. So I'm just going to take it through. We're at the 8th position now. In between, it's my least favorite place to be, because I tend to like, this year, there are 6 guys that I'll happily grab first, and I have them in a tiered system. Le'Veon Bell went first. In this draft, Julio Jones followed by Adrian Peterson. The Julio Jones is a jump. But there's definitely 5 running backs and 5 running backs and Antonio Brown, who I'd love to take with the first pick. But beyond pick 6, like I could have the 7th pick and have the 12th pick, and I'd probably be just as happy with my selection, which is why I don't really like having those tail end picks for the first round. Granted, rounds 2 and 3. As I've said on the other drafts, I think rounds 2, 3, and even 4 and 5 still get you a value of mattering where your pick is. So I don't think it's just a no-brainer you want an early pick, but you probably do. I love pick 4. So Antonio Brown's still there. So is C.J. Anderson. I don't want to roll the dice on C.J. Anderson. I like the high floor pick. I'll take Antonio Brown in the 8th. I like Matt Forte, but there's too many question marks. I'll gladly wait on Demaryius. I'll gladly wait on. Well, if Antonio Brown's there, it kind of makes most other or all other wide receivers kind of obsolete in comparison. So it's like I kind of ignore whatever. I don't care what other wide receivers are available. If I have a pick and I'm considering, and Antonio Brown's available, I'm considering him, and that's it. Him versus a running back, basically. Because this draft, there hasn't been that much that's changed since the last drafts that I did. I mean, there's a handful of positions that have shifted, but I don't think the underlying strategy is going to be that different. As I always mention, the picks are kind of irrelevant. I mean, I love arguing with people over my picks in the comments section, as you might have seen or participated in, but um, it's how insecure I am of everything. As I'm sitting here, I'm like, am I sounding like cocky, like I actually think I have an audience? Because I know I don't. I know it's dumb luck that people found my dumb little drafts. Um, but anyway, yeah, so if you want to argue with me about my picks, that's awesome. I'll gladly debate picks. I love doing it. But the truth is, I'm really just trying to show general draft strategy. And the fact that I took a wide receiver in the first round, which is not something I don't think I've done that in any of the drafts. Maybe I did in the 11th pick draft. I'd have to go back and see, but I'm not sure. But we'll see how it shakes out taking a wide receiver first. I almost universally will take a running back. And I didn't expect Antonio Brown to fall to me in the 8th. I probably would have taken, who was available? I probably would have taken Matt Forte or C.J. Anderson in that position. Though I know this is just conjecture, but I was watching some Jeremy Hill highlights from last year, and I was like, that guy's, love watching him. Then again, you watch anybody's highlights, and you're like, well, that guy's the guy. All right, so Odell Beckham Jr. and Calvin Johnson and A.J. Green. What else is below? I think I'm going to take Calvin Johnson. I know he was injured a little last year, and he's getting up there. I really just love, and I got to take Calvin. I know that's, some of you might be wondering what the hell is wrong with me. Between those two, and I've never actually had that situation come up, because Odell Beckham Jr., OB Jesus is definitely going a lot sooner than, mid-second round. Well, you know what, if you're mad at me for that, get mad at the guy who took Aaron Rodgers above him. But yeah. So I'm in a PPR keeper IDP league, right? The draft gets really screwy because we have 3 keepers, and if you got somebody off waivers, you get them in the 8th round of your next year, which we have an extra flex spot for wide receiver and tight end. So it's as if, you keep your guys you got off waiver in the 8th, and then if you keep a second one, you get them in the 7th, and a third, you get them in the 6th. But there are, if you count our wide receivers, running back, and flexes, which are the initial positions I like to draft before quarterback and tight end, you have 6 picks, and you have your whole, your starters, basically. The way that our league works is that when you have your guys your keepers in the 8th and the 7th, if you got them off waivers, then that's after you've picked your starting lineup, basically. So if you get guys who can fit into your starting lineup, then that's amazing, and you can just craft these really good teams. And so it definitely throws kind of a wrench into the draft, because last year a lot of undrafted players and a lot of rookies and a lot of just guys who got drafted pretty low or undrafted wound up doing extremely well and basically make up the 3rd and 4th rounds of the draft this year. So it's been kind of screwy trying to imagine how to draft with that. But plus, there's the whole, we have 3 IDP players. Individual defensive players, ID players. And so that kind of throws a little wrench into it. Full point PPR, 6-point passing touchdowns. And so I've been trying to prep for that draft and had that on the mind. But that's not the point. I want to talk about something that happened in that league after I take my next pick. So who else was taken? It's all standard. There's nothing new that's happening in these early picks. Nothing interesting is going to happen until after the 4th round, I think. Then I'm going to try some stuff. All right, so I don't have a running back yet. Looking at Carlos Hyde, Kelvin Benjamin, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Forsett, Brandon Cooks. Now, I like a lot of these wide receivers, but and I can probably grab another running back. Shit. Do I really want Joseph Randall to be my running back 1? I think I'm going to take Justin Forsett. It's not PPR though. Shit. Justin Forsett. Damn. Otherwise, I would have taken Carlos Hyde, but completely unproven. I know Justin Forsett is getting older and whatnot, which is the exact reason one of the reasons I didn't grab Matt Forte. And I know it's not PPR. If this was PPR, it would have been Justin Forsett by a mile. But like, I'm just looking around at whoever else I want. There's enough mid-range quarterbacks or like tier 1.5, tier 2 quarterbacks. So I don't want to grab one of them. I don't want Todd Gurley. And I hadn't wanted Todd Gurley for a while, so. And I might be able to grab just Joseph Randolph for the next pick. But I really do like Brandon Cooks. I like DeAndre Hopkins a lot. Oh, and here's the thing for keeper leagues. See, in that keeper league I just talked about, I have DeAndre Hopkins. I'm keeping him at round 10 because I picked him up super late in the draft, and last year he did great. Love having him, but now that he like goes in the third round, or I guess the fourth round here, it's like I look at him and I go, well, I could get him in the 10th round. Like that's a trap you fall into when you start analyzing players based on keepers. Like there are even like guys who, like one guy in that league is able to keep. He managed to wind up with both C.J. Anderson off waivers and Jeremy Hill off. Actually, he just drafted him super late, so he's got those guys pretty late in the draft, and so I've been like in my head going like, I hope they don't do that well. I hope they don't do that well, and because of that, I initially early mock drafts found myself going like, oh, they suck. Because I don't want to root against them. I already know I'm going to root against them in one league. So why would I, if I pick them up, then I have to root for them and against them. But that's obviously extremely flawed logic. But like in case you end up falling into those traps, just a heads up. So I might get Jonathan Stewart here. I like Joseph Randall a lot, but I mean, damn it. I was hoping to just grab, and who else? Jordan Matthews is there? You know what? Let's roll the dice. Because I like Abdullah, and I'm probably going to be able to snag him early. But, yeah, now I got almost all my starters. But, yeah, I like Jordan Matthews a lot. Although it is a little risky because it's the Chip Kelly offense, and you don't know if he's going to be the guy. Maybe I should have just taken Jonathan Stewart there. Or even Joseph Randall. I think at this point, with all the faith that Dallas has showed Joseph Randall, I'm putting him on par with Jon Stewart with the Daily Show. Sorry, I was just trying to think of I was like, yeah, retirement jokes, because Jonathan Stewart always gets injured. It's like, maybe he should have blah, 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 blah. I don't think Bruce Springsteen is playing at running back Jonathan Stewart's retirement party, though. Highly unlikely. So let's see. Alright, so after... Okay, so anyway, I guess I'll just have to interrupt my own story when it's my pick. Because more standard 3 and 4 round, high upside, but shaky, possible bust, going one after another. So I was hanging out with some of my league mates from the league I described earlier last night, and okay. I like Amari Cooper. I really like Amari Cooper. I'm not a huge Vincent Jackson fan. I'd take him, rounds later. I like Amari Cooper. I like Isaiah Crowell. I'm probably going to end up... I still have to fill a hole. So here's the thing. Right now... That's so stupid. Right now, I want to take Abdullah, but I know how far down he is. Okay, if this were a real draft... and there weren't already 4 or 5 people on auto draft, then I'd grab Abdullah. So I should just play it that way. Now I got a lineup that I really like. Abdullah, it might bite me in the ass, but I mean Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, I can just run away with it. The Jordan Matthews thing is a little scary for me because I'm just like, oh, what if Aguilar gets it? And I can pick him up too, but it's like, this is probably the riskiest team that I've put together so far. I don't know if that's a testament to how I was drafting today. Or just the 8th pick. Because the truth is, I don't actually, you know what, with Antonio Brown and Calvin Johnson, that's pretty nice. I think I did pretty well on my first 2 picks. But I did find myself man, I would take 3 guys in the spot, 3 guys. Yeah, maybe 8th just sucks, because in rounds 3, 4, and 5, I'll take any of this group of guys, So if I had an earlier pick, I'd get somebody in a higher tier. And if I had a later pick, I'd just take the last of those guys, and then in the next round, I'd probably get somebody in a higher tier. So now I might be forced to just to take Aguilar, I guess. Jeez. No, I'm not gonna take Aguilar. That's ridiculous. I like Landry a lot. I feel like he's fallen off. Because right now I'm about to be able to snag him in the 6 if this guy doesn't time out or take him. Kevin White, you can wait till the very, very end. Let's see. Trey Mason, I'm fine. I mean, Abdullah is almost like taking. I don't know. You don't know how much work he's going to get at first. But yeah, right here. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's the point where I'm like, do I have a quarterback I want to grab? Not really. I can wait. No, I have a tight end. Not really. I can wait. So I will absolutely 100% pull the trigger on my first bench spot and take Foster. Like I have, no qualms with that. I'm gonna be like, because that's the thing is, I'm gonna be the guy who I think takes Foster at a point where like I don't know. I don't think any of my league mates in any of my leagues are gonna see these. Who gives a shit? I'm just doing it for fun anyway. But I'm gonna be the guy who takes Foster so early that even if I tell you what pick I'm gonna take Foster, you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to take him before you. Like, it's just stupid. Why would you do that? If this were a real draft, I probably would have taken him where I took Abdullah if I thought Abdullah would actually fall. Like, if Abdullah his hype goes away by the time the drafts start happening, which for me are between weeks 3 and 4 of the postseason or between weeks 4 of or preseason and the opening of the actual season, I might actually do that. All right. Let's see. Tavis Bryant, I know his hype has fallen down pretty much. So here's the other point where Bryant, and I've got a pick coming up pretty soon. I might. Oh God, I never take it. This is you know what? This is a not a risky thing. That's where I take Tom Brady. This is not a risky thing. It's more of a. This is my reach draft, if we're going to call it something. It's my reach draft. I feel like I've lost a lot of value just from my draft position, because those rounds 3 through 5, where I had people where it's like I could have 3 picks later, and I would be just as happy as I am right now. Which, at least in one of those rounds, whether it was, like, I would have gotten somebody in a higher tier. My 4th round guy... Okay, let's look at that. My 4th round guy, instead of Amir Abdullah... Had I gotten like 3 picks later, I still would have gotten somebody I really liked in the 3rd round. Where are we? Just enforce it. The Sheriff. Jordan Matthews. Oh, he was my 4th. My bad. So my 4th was Jordan Matthews. So if I had, 3 picks earlier, because I would have been happy with 3 picks past Justin Forsett, no problem. With Brandon Cooks or somebody. Get myself 3. 1, 2, 3. Still could have grabbed Brandon Cooks. I could have, if I was 3 down, what would I grab? Like Frank Gore and Brandon Cooks? Or some combination of Frank Gore, Brandon Cooks, and DeAndre Hopkins, which I like a lot better than the Jordan Matthews pick that I took. Damn, are Cam and Tony... Yeah, see, that's the other problem about taking Tom Brady right there. I guess I could have waited a couple of rounds. But who was I really missing? Nobody was taken other than like Cam Newton, but I would rather have I'd rather have Eli Manning followed by Tom Brady after four weeks than have Cam Newton the whole year. So I guess, and I still had the guy I wanted, Martavis Bryant, who's just right there. I really, really like Chris Johnson. Wait, Charles Johnson. I do not like Chris Johnson. Yeah, let's grab Bryant. Let's see if the hype works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. 8th round. That's fine. Doug Martin, I'm not biting. Trey Mason's... You know what? Trey Mason's definitely worth it at this point in 8th round. That's the other thing. I keep running into it, dude. I don't usually run into this, especially in these rounds. I want 1 guy or maybe 2 guys. But it feels like every single round I've wanted 3 or 4 guys who are available to me. I hate this 8th position. And I don't really know what would have changed. So let's see what it would have changed. So I would have had Martavis Bryant, and I'm not biting on Alfred Blue, by the way. Okay, so if I had taken, instead of Tom Brady, I would have taken Martavis Bryant, and then instead of Martavis Bryant, I take Charles Johnson. Then, presumably, Tom Brady, Tony Romo, and who else just went off? And Cam Newton will be off the board. So now I'm at another like lower tier or 2 of quarterback. Had I taken those 2, so had I taken Martavis Bryant instead of Tom Brady, I would have the exact same lineup if I wanted to take Tom Brady. But I still would have had the option to take like Tony Romo or Cam Newton. But I don't want them over Tom Brady. You know what? Why am I justifying it? I made a mistake. I definitely made a mistake, and I was lucky enough that it didn't affect me too much. So I like Steve Smith Sr. Might take D'Angelo Williams to make up for who knows what Amir Abdullah is going to do at the beginning. Yeah, Steve Smith. Yeah, what other weapons does Baltimore have? I'll just take Baltimore. Justin Forsett and Steve Smith Sr. I'll be watching every single game, and so why not? Dude, I emotionally connect with these mock drafts as if they were real, and it like hurts me. Okay, so back to my story about my keeper league, right? My keeper IDP, PPR, extra flex league, right? So 2 of the teams, arguably 2 of the best, like 4 people in the league. This is a league that has a couple fantasy writers in it, like actual professional fantasy writers, and nothing but diehard football fans, like lifelong playing Final Fantasy football fans. And then me, a guy who like got into this because Magic the Gathering was too time consuming once I was like in a serious band. Okay. Who's next? I can still grab D'Angelo Williams for those opening games. John Brown? You know what? If I get bit in the ass by not drafting Cardinals wide receivers, then that's just what happens. So I think I'm going to take Jordan Cameron, because he's the last, I've mentioned this before, of that like tier of tight ends before I'm just like, well, who gives a shit? Because we'll see. It's all Flyers from here on out. Flyers a great ceiling, but I really believe in Jordan Cameron on the Dolphins. I really, really, really do. So in that keeper league, my draft went as follows. Now I mentioned the keepers because it's kind of like rounds 3, 4, and somewhat 5 end up getting like almost they get decimated with a lot of really good players based on the previous year. So we end up with like a weird gap where your second pick looks really good and then your third pick looks terrible. That doesn't mean I didn't make a mistake and draft my third pick way too early, but that's just to explain what that is. So yesterday I was hanging out with a couple guys from the league, and they were talking about how like the first thing somebody said was, your win was a fluke, and I'll tell you why. And I'm such an egotist, I was sitting there like, yes, just talk about my team. I don't care what you got to say about it. Just talk about my team. David Johnson, I don't like that with the Chris Johnson thing going on. I think now I might just grab Eli Manning just to make sure I have my... I don't really like anybody else here. Or if I'm missing anybody. I like Tannehill too, but I don't want to wait to just choose one together. Yeah, and the rest are guys I can just grab. Sorry. Now I want to pull up my list of extra sleeper guys for the end of the draft. Although it doesn't really matter. Everybody else is on auto draft, so I basically get to cherry pick sleepers. But I guess this can be the section where I talk about sleepers. So I draft. I got the 8th pick in the draft, and when it comes to me, I'm thinking between Jimmy Graham, who's going in the first round at that point, and it was between him for position scarcity, and I really wanted to start with a running back, and I had Tony Romo the year before, and I'd watched every Cowboys game, and I was like, you know what? I don't care if he's going in the second round. I want DeMarco Murray, so I take DeMarco Murray. Hold your applause. So then the next round. It's a handful of decent wide receivers, but the one I had on the top of my my beer sheets was Dez Bryant. It's like, fuck it, let's go Cowboys. again, hold your applause. So the third round, granted, the third round was a little like, messy because of the keepers. There were a lot of people taken out of it. But sitting at the top of my, or towards the top of my wide receiver chart on my beer sheets was Emmanuel Sanders, and I was like, well, I desperately wanted a piece of the what's it called? I desperately wanted a piece of the Broncos, wide receiver core last year. So why don't I just take that guy? And everyone was like, what the fuck? Because he was going in like round 7. In our league, probably should have gone in round 5, but worked out just fine. Very lucky on my part. This is also a it's a PPR league, and the next pick I had was Julian Edelman. And I had and that was great too. And then I guess the 5th pick, I'm not. I think the 5th pick was probably like Eric Decker or somebody, and so that wasn't great. And then so then as we go down, the 6th pick I had between Tom Brady and Jay Cutler and Steven Jackson. And my keepers, I really shouldn't have grabbed Steven Jackson at this point, but my keepers were in the 7th and 8th round. Wait, hold on, sorry. Let me real quick just grab Eddie Royal. Did he get taken out? No. So my last pick or whatever. So I had Monty Ball and Toby Gerhart, but 7th and 8th round. I didn't have high hopes for either of them. I tried aggressively to trade them off before the season started. Didn't work out so well. And so anyway, I'm just gonna grab play from here on out. I'm just gonna grab random guys off my list. I'd rather tell you guys this story. I don't know if you check any list for sleepers. Eddie Royal, there. That's all you need. It doesn't even really count. And nobody else is sniping sleepers here, so it doesn't really matter. So anyway, we got. Okay, so basically I lucked out on my first 4 picks, and it turned out I lucked out huge on Steven Jackson because he was a serviceable RB2 all year. It was great. And then in the 9th round, I grabbed Russell Wilson. That was pretty great too. Hello. You all done?
Yeah.
I was just recording a mock draft thing.
What is the recording?
I'm almost done. We can edit. Alright, I love you. I'll come up in like 5 minutes.
Get this done.
I know. You want me to hold on to her?
No, she says excited.
Thanks, Regan.
She has to go out.
I'll take her out.
She's to get the baby.
Sorry you broke your
Baby
toe.
stuff.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Alright. Alright, so we got 2 more minutes left. Alright, so to wrap up, so anyway, point being, I got grabbed Russell Wilson in the 9th. My starting lineup basically did not change throughout the entire year, except bye weeks. But all year, I was really playing the wire. I wound up with Travis Kelce as a tight end, and Buck Allen, Marvin Jones. I hustled hard to like build up especially my wide receiver core. I could not for the life of me seem to get my hands on another running back that was worthy of a start. But all year I was able to really just start that core group of players, and even though there were a couple teams that were way better than mine, including the team I played in the Super Bowl, whose lineup was, he had Matt Forte, some keepers, Matt Forte, PPR, Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram, Rob Gronkowski, and Julius Thomas, and then a handful of, and nobody else. There was no slouches on the team. That's just he happened to have all of them, and so I played him in the Super Bowl. I built up all these great backup wide mostly wide receivers. Doesn't matter. Robbie Gould. My cat's named after Robbie Gould. That's a wife thing. So the Super Bowl, which was our week 16, I play against that dude who's got all those crazy players, and sure enough, DeMarco Murray's got a broken hand. So yeah, DeMarco Murray's got a broken hand. I don't know what else to do, but I still got to start him, right? And then we've got who else was messed up? Who else couldn't I play? I'm trying to look at my bench here on the thing, but it won't show it to me. So he was hurt. I'm not seeing. Edelman was out, probably with a concussion, if I was a betting man. And then who else was out? There's definitely another wide receiver who was out. So I basically had 2 wide receivers and potentially, and my main bell cow was missing a hand. And so what I ended up doing was I was able to use the fact that I managed to grab Brandon LaFell and Charles Johnson and play them, and on the backs of Russell Wilson and Emmanuel Sanders, who, really pulled their weight. Also, Steven Jackson had just been injured, and he had just come back. Emmanuel Sanders, that's the other thing. I think both Steven Jackson and Emmanuel Sanders were out my other playoff week. But the point is, the whole regular season, I was amassing this bench, just doing the best I could to keep up with the waiver wire without even having to really sub anybody in. And managed to sneak in third place into the playoffs. But both weeks in the playoffs, I had to sit 2 to 3 of my starters, and in both weeks was when DeMarco Murray had the broken hand, so I never knew. I knew I just couldn't count on him as much, and my team felt very crippled, and I was able to beat 2 teams that had fantastic players, a lot fueled by keepers, that were just these unbeatable teams that both breezed their way into the playoffs from minute 1. It wasn't even close. They never had a second where they were out of playoff contention. And so so it really goes to show that no matter how well your team's doing, your starters are, play that waiver wire and keep building up a bench. It was the one good move I made all season, and it won me the league. I got lucky in the draft, and that took me as far as the playoffs, but I still had to grind it out with solid play. All right, well, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.